A mere 3 days late, we're going to take a look at the new Kill Team box, Blood and Zeal, which for some reason I keep forgetting the name of, having read it only seconds ago. This doesn't bode well, does it? Look, this actually on the surface looks like quite an interesting box, but having taken a quick glance at the models beforehand, just to familiarise myself a little bit, I feel like one of these two kill teams has got a ton of personality spread out in various and interesting ways across the different models, whereas the other kill team has got one personality replicated over and over again. And it's kind of leading to this odd thing where it's not a mismatched box, but it feels like one side has just got way more visual interest than the other. Let's take a look and see what we think, see whether you agree with that particular statement. So, a momentous day arrives on Volcus. The Great Gun is being prepared to fire across the annular sprawl of Hive Basilicus. Millions labour to assemble its hallowed ammunition. Sure, the most vital and dangerous component of the colossal firing cap that ignites the shell's propellant must be transported to the central complex, but a brutal blood cult of augmented killers is out to detonate it inside the city. Hilarious. And only the missionaries escorting the payload stand in their way. Only the mission... Why are the missionaries escorting the payload? You know, get like some of the local... Get the PDF in or something. So it's another expansion for Kill Team. It's called Blood and Zeal, and you've got a bunch of, I was going to say religious lunatics plus corn worshippers, but those are the same thing, kind of. I mean, sort of the same thing. Obviously, you can be a religious lunatic without worshipping corn, but if you're worshipping corn, I have to suggest that you are, in yourself, a religious lunatic, you know? On the one side, we've got this lot, the Sanctifiers, and starting off, we have the Confessor, who is fantastic. It's clearly the week for big hats. I'm all in favour of that. I'm loving Big Hat Week. Fantastic. Love it. Very nice to see the Thurable slash sensor style power mace there. Lovely to see that back. I don't think they're on the current Deathwing Knight kit, so it's nice to see it here. He's obviously proselytizing loudly from his book. That is a hell of a bookmark. That is, I mean, as bookmarks go, good lord. That has got some weight and some heft to it. It's nearly thicker than the book itself. Incredible. Also, oh no. Oh, I've just seen it. The sleeves. They've done the sleeves again. They've done the sleeves that I don't like again. I know there's no other way of doing those big voluminous sleeves. You can't actually have them hollow. I don't think you can cast them that way, or, you know, mould them or inject them or whatever. I don't think you can actually get a proper big gap down there, but there is just something about that kind of shallow part of the sleeve being open, just painted black, and it just doesn't work. And I can't tell you why it doesn't work, but as soon as I notice it, that's all I can look at, and it bugs me. And I know it shouldn't, and it's a silly thing to get hung up on, but I'm pretty sure, was it last year or the year before, there was a full video that was just complaining about a sleeve like that. So you know what? You should expect it by now. Other than that, we've got an excellent metal hat that is powered. I'd love to know why. I'm really hoping that is explained at some point. Probably won't be in the article, but the hat's fantastic. Those, like, mutton chop sort of sideburn, whatever the hell's going on with that facial hair, that's great. Like that a lot. I like the stole he's got on. The stole is like the big bit of cloth that's like two strips of cloth. It kind of goes down the front, but then it goes around the back of the neck. That looks really nice, especially the way it's weighted down with those wings at the end. That's cool. Really nice mix of different textures as well. You've got the kind of fur around the cloak, you've got the robe, you've got the stole, you've got some metal work as well, the paper on the book, the skin. That's actually a very fun model. Very fun model. Then we've got the cherub and the conflagrator. The cherub is obviously nightmarish because, I mean, look at it. All Imperium cherubs are nightmare fuel. This is not really any different, except he's carrying a pokey stick, I'm assuming, to electrocute or stun people with, which actually makes it way more horrific. No one, literally no one, even the most crazed corn worshipper, no one wants to be in a position where you are being electrocuted by a flying baby. No one is interested in that, right? As things you don't want to happen go, I would suggest electrocuted with a stun gun, or like a stun stick, from a flying baby. It's not high on the list, right? I love it though. It seems really silly. It's making me laugh the more I think about it. Oh my god. You're minding your own business, and that thing floats down and pokes you with the electric stick. Oh, God. Absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. We're going to have to move on. I keep laughing every time I look at it. The Conflagrator, I mean, we've got your standard robed nutter with 2 Inferno pistols. I mean, hand flamers. Either way. There's nothing to complain about here. The expression is correct. Looks angry, looks zealous. The clothes look really good. And dual-wielding, like, flamer pistols. It's just class. It's always class. I always love models that have got that kind of loadout. Yeah, gets the seal of approval. We've also got the missionaries for a bit more fire. So we've got plasma on one, we've got a flamer on the other. That is a very hefty symbol of the Inquisition. Good lord, look at that. You could absolutely beat someone to death with that, and I'd imagine that they do. I do like that kind of, that torch that he's got there. That's really cool. That's a fun little item. I also really like how the plasma gun is being supported, like the strap is more of a rope than it is like an actual strap. That feels like a very conscious decision because it kind of mimics the like cinching belts that you kind of put on vestments, and I like that. That's a nice little touch. The overall loadout is very similar. I like the books that are being supported on the back there. That's kind of fun. Initially, I did think, is this like an alternate build situation? But I don't think it is. The posing on the legs is different. The detail on the torso, well, in fact, the detail across a lot of the model is different. It's just a consistent design. So, yeah, I like those. I like those a lot. This, so far, is a very fun kill team. There's a nice mix of kind of similar looks, but the loadouts are all very different. Although you've got, clearly zealous personalities, there's also a nice bit of customization and definite, like, visual difference from one model to the next. We've got a Death Cult Assassin. They look fantastic. I like the gear. I really like the way they've painted the model there as well. That's really fun. Very sharp edge highlights and kind of, well, just highlights in general on there. Suits it really nicely. The Drill Abbot. Now, I want to know, is he called Drill Abbot? Like, is his first name Drill and his last name is Abbott? Or is that his official position? The Drill Abbott? Because that is mad. Either way, what an insane title, or what a ridiculous name. I'm assuming it's a title, but also, where's the drill? I mean, I'm looking at him. He's got a hammer. He's got some sort of pneumatic hammer. I think he might have a prosthetic arm as well, but it's kind of hard to tell from this angle. Where's the drill? Also, what is with the head? He's got a little reliquary thing with him. I have so many questions about this one dude. I have more questions about him than literally everyone else, which you'd think, given some of the other guys that we've seen on show here, that wouldn't make any sense. But you know what? I really want to know his deal. I desperately want to know his deal. He doesn't even look... Just the combination of the name, the fact he doesn't have a drill and he's got a hammer plus a box with someone's head in it, I'm just full of questions, I do like... He's got quite a good head as well. There's a lot of mad hair going on, but that feels appropriate, right? That feels appropriate for this kill team. I really like the parchment as well down the front. That looks really cool. Yeah, that's a fun model. I just want to know what his deal is. So we've got the Persecutor and the Salvationist. Funnily enough, I think it would have been funnier if those names were the other way around. I realise they're not necessarily fully going for comedy value, but having someone with a chainsaw that is also a small flamer being called the Salvationist, I don't know. I think that would be better, but that's just me. You may well disagree, and in fact, you'd probably be right to. But that is a fantastic weapon. That is absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's so silly. It's clearly also, it's not even a changed sword. You can't call that a changed sword. The way that's being held, that is just a chainsaw with a small flamethrower attached. They're not really making it look like anything else there, are they? And that weirdly makes it cooler. That just makes it cooler to my eye. It's very over the top. It's clearly a bit mad. The size of the weapon is like half, maybe 2/3 the size of the person holding it. Like, just the length of the actual chainsaw blade itself is a significant portion of that person's like body mass. I really like this. It's very, very fun. The Salvationist, very spooky. Very spooky. Like the Salvationist a lot. The blank mask, the weird box, they're just holding it in front of them. The staff is very fun as well. Really like the sheer amount of paperwork going down the front there. Lots of parchment on the go like that. I'd love to know what's on the backpack as well. It looks like there's a tube feeding up into the head through the hood too. That is dedication. I want to know what is going on there. Some sort of sanctioned psyker, presumably? Maybe? That's my guess, but I could be totally wrong. Super creepy though. Really like that. Super creepy. We've also got the Relicant and the Miraculous. Good grief. I mean, it wouldn't be a sort of ecclesiarchy themed or ecclesiastical themed kill team or squad if you didn't have someone holding a bunch of bones in a box, right? We know to expect this. Whether it's on a stick or not, that, you know, it just depends on how the design is fitting at the time. But you gotta have the box of bones on a stick. I really like the candles, the melted candles on top. That's very nice. That's very fun. Again, lots of paperwork like that, a lot. The dude looks like he's either shouting or he's struggling, having just gone up some stairs. It could be either. But either way, that is that is quite the face he's got. The Miraculous, which is a horrible word, by the way. I don't know why. I'm really having trouble pronouncing that. It shouldn't be that hard, but here we are. Just fully like corrupted saint sort of feel. Slightly hovering, bit of stigmata going on, which thematically doesn't really make any sense, but sure. I know it's not actually stigmata. They've actually got something poking, like the nails are currently through the hand. It's when it appears, but there were no nails. I know that's what it is, but you know what I mean. We've got stuff nailed through the palms in a sort of being ascended, slightly crucifixion-esque pose going on, which looks very cool and is, you know, there's an inspiration going on there. But yeah, I do like that model. That is quite fun. I like the kind of literal iron halo going on behind them as well. That's kind of adding another element to it. That's yeah, they've done good with that one. Plus, with a little bit of filing and clipping, you've got a very good model for Trench Crusade there. Just throwing it out there. Anyway, so what they lack in armour, they make up for in raw grit, fighting through injuries that would fell an Ogren with prayers on their lips and booming sermons in their ears. Many are equipped with searing flame weapons, clearly packing a hefty punch at close range, and the presence of the Drill Abbot and Death Cult Assassin cranks their fervour even higher. Arrayed against them are the ferocious Goremongers, 8 mortal servants, obviously. It's got to be 8. Imagine if they put 9 in. It'd just be like, what are you doing? Who have been lucky enough to witness the crimson form of a bloodletter in combat and actually survive the encounter. This experience makes them obsessed with this perfect manifestation of the blood god's wrath, seeking to emulate their idols in deed and image. And this is where we get to the bit where we have, in the form of the Sanctifiers, you've got like this kind of very clear inspiration, this very clear theme running through, but there is variation within that theme to such an extent that you can, I think it's fair to say, easily identify what model is what model, right? The Goremongers, not so much. So they do look very fun, right? I'm not saying they don't. The Blood Herald looks fantastic. I love the big, like, Bloodthirster-esque face going on, the different horns. He's got the spikes coming out at the back that are very, very sort of wing, like mimicking a kind of wing structure a little bit. I do like the way that they've shown how clearly inspired this group was by the sight of a Bloodthirster. I think it works thematically, especially things like they've modified the legs, so they've got this kind of double jointed backwards legs. It looks cool, right? The Impaler looks awesome, although is that a harpoon? Oh lord, it is. It's a harpoon. It's got like a chain winch on the bottom of it. That's grim. Like that a lot. But again, we've got the surgically altered legs. We've got that kind of pack on the back as well. The mask on the front, getting that lower skull half across the mouth. They look super threatening. But the Skull Claimer and the Stalker and the Inciter and the Blood Taker, there are differences, but they don't feel as immediately obvious because the overall The silhouettes are only different when it comes to the weapons, to my eye. Like, again, this is all subjective, you know the drill. I really like them, and I like the clear inspiration behind them, but for some reason, the overall silhouette's the only thing that feels different to the weapons, and I think it's because they're a bit more busy overall. So you've got these mechanical legs, you've got these harnesses going on, which are super consistent across every single model. You've got additional spikes that, again, are coming from the backpack. Most of the weapons, chain weapons, makes perfect sense, don't have a problem with that. But for me, overall, it feels like these are a little closer to each other in the things that you pick up on first. I feel like most of the time you see a miniature and you get the overall shape of it and then you go in for detail, right? For me, there's a lot of similarities at a glance that would confuse me initially. But that's not to say that they're bad looking models, because they're not. I think they actually look really cool. They're a very fun concept. They've been executed quite well. When it comes to like a couple of guns versus 2 chain blades or 1 chain blade, obviously the significant differences there that you can pick on nice and quickly, but yeah, I think it's just the silhouette thing. I think that's all it is. It just throws me off slightly. And with the aspirants, this is like a good example, I think. At a glance, I wouldn't immediately pick up on the difference between the 2 aspirants and the skull claimer. But yeah, it's like a thing of, I really like the overall theme, but I feel like the overall theme is so strong that the individual parts of the models aren't quite different enough. But at the same time, they are super nicely designed. Like, there's lots of really fun little details, like the harnesses, the t-shirts and stuff. The weapons look brutal and heavy and monstrous, which is fantastic. I really like those reservoirs of blood they've got on their backs as well. That looks great. The way that they've replaced the legs with prosthetics to mimic a bloodthirster's stance, that is such a cool idea. I really love that idea. I think it's just, for whatever reason, my dumb brain, at a glance, would not be telling these apart on the tabletop. A good 3 or 4 of them, I'd just be like, what's that again? Who's that? Who's that guy? I can't remember, is that guy or that guy? Which, to be fair, there is a chance of that here, but I think because there's such a difference in gear on these at least, so we've got a heavy robe element, right? But the Salvationists' robes and weapon combo don't look like the Persecutors' robes and weapon combo. And the Persecutor might have the same robes as the Drill Abbot, but the Drill Abbot isn't carrying a giant chainsaw. And the Missionaries, whilst they are, again, robed, they've got the books, they've got the big torch being held, they've got the flamer being held. And again, with the Conflagrator, it's like there's just enough difference at a glance that it doesn't bother me as much with this side of this Kill Team box as it does with the Goremongers. But having said all of that, I still think the Goremongers look really, really good. They do look very fun. They look super brutal. They have committed to the theme in a really fun way. It's not a bad Kill Team. Not a bad Kill Team at all. And I think another little part of what makes it different for like these compared to say like the Jackals for the World Eaters, for instance. For the most part, it feels like there are just, you've got this guy who has got this weapon, and then you replicate it for the most part across the entire squad. So if you've got a squad of 8, then they are all mostly running around with the same loadout. When it comes to Kill Team, the weapon profiles or the weapon loadouts are a bit different going from model to model, where the difference between the guy holding the big chain axe is actually going to be quite different to the aspirants, but at a glance they would look similar. So whilst that is the case in 40k as well, whereas at a glance you might not be able to tell exactly what each thing is holding, it doesn't feel as impactful as it would for a smaller skirmish-based game. I think that's also one of the reasons that in some ways I find AOS a lot more easy, is that generally speaking, you just got all the same stuff. It's just, okay, here's the thing, and then they hit on this, and then they do that, and then that's it. You don't need to really worry about what they're holding, because it's just, here's these guys, they all have this one thing, and it says right here what that thing is, you don't need to worry about anything else, which I tend to find a bit easier. But that is also partially because apparently I'm bad at processing information. But we already knew that anyway, so it's fine. I do love this. The Goremongers are amongst the most lucid and reliable of Khorne's troops, pumping a constant flow of combat stims mixed with drops of their master's blood into their systems, while still retaining a modicum of cunning and level-headedness. The first thing they do is cut off their own legs and graft on a new mechanical pair that brings them closer to the ideal physical form, armed with bloodletting chain weapons and ritual daggers. Still retaining a modicum of level-headedness, the first thing they do is cut off their own legs. Yep, sounds about right. Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Nice. That's very level-headed. Suppose they did. Suppose they have said a modicum. They haven't said they're actually properly stable, have they? So, plus the Imperial Shrine statue is back. This is a quality little bit of terrain. I really like this. It's also not little. I don't know why I said little. It's not. The Blood and Zeal dossier includes loads of missions that make use of this gigantic monument, as well as an in-depth hobby guide teaching how to desecrate the statue to honour the Chaos God. That's very fun. Hang on a second. That's very fun. Here's a thing that we sell. We don't sell it in a certain form, but we're going to tell you how to turn it into something that it's not, kind of. That's... Ooh. God. Can we have more of that? Just a little bit more of that. Because that's nice. I like it. That's fun. So, it does look good. I do like that. It also contains fascinating new mechanics that involve an entirely new deck of Blood and Zeal cards. Drawing a card in-game could give you a sudden stroke of good fortune, as the Divine cast their gaze over your battlefield and bequeath the faithful with powerful abilities. Can you get ones that really screw you over as well? Surely. Plus a token sheet as well. So, yeah, I mean, this is... Plus, of course, you get the token sheet, and we don't know when this is going to come out, but I'm sure they will let us know sooner rather than later, hopefully. This is a good... This is nice. I actually really like this. I know I've got my issues with the Goremongers, but I think the overall idea behind them is really fun. I think the miniatures are actually really cool. It's just that kind of immediate processing that I'm having a bit of trouble with those. But the Sanctifiers are fantastic and hilarious. They've got some amazing stuff in there. Overall, that is quite a fun little expansion. I like pretty much everything in there. It's good. It's good. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Feel free to click all the things. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you for the next one.